Okay, so yesterday we were talking about only one element. Today we will be talking about more than one element. Okay, which would be elements, or you can also call it as web elements or array of elements or list of elements. Okay, so in yesterday's we were talking about like when we have only this particular part, it is called as element finder. So the moment we use any method, then only the particular element finder is converted into a web element and then action is performed. Okay, so instead of performing the action, we can directly call get web element as well to make a element finder into a web element. Okay, so you can perform operations only on web element, not on element finder, but eventually when you write, it will be converted and then it will be performed. So today we are going to see like what if more than one element is present for a particular locator and if you want to retrieve all of them. Okay, so for example, let me open Google. Okay, here we have a couple of links. Okay, so every link is either made up of anchor text or a link. Okay, anchor text in the sense the tag name would be anchor a. Okay, so we can try to find tag name as a. So we will be able to get all the elements, but we will not be able to get this. We will not be able to use normal methods on web elements, but we will see like how to use them. So element will find only one element, which would be like the first match present on the page. Okay, so first match in the sense like consider you have multiple links here. Okay, I'm considering this Gmail as the first link. So the protractor or Selenium finds this particular link or any particular link not based on the UI but only based on the HTML code present in behind the this particular UI. So the HTML code might take little time. So in that case, what happens is like wherever the first anchor tag present, that will be considered as the first element. Okay, for example, if this image is loaded first in HTML, means this will be considered as first element. Okay, and second way is something like people will trick the code, like they will write that particular HTML code at the bottom, but the element will be visible at the top of the page. Okay, there will be some situations also. If they use something like positions, they will be able to get it either using the relative paths or absolute paths. So at that time, they will be giving the pixels like where they want to place that particular element. So in that case, what happens is like that particular element might look like that is the first element on the UI, but when you are using a protractor, you should always only focus on the DOM or HTML behind this UI. Okay, that's what matters. So first element means like the first element in the HTML, not in the UI. Okay, so we were able to find it using this one. So if you want to find more than one element, then there is a one more method called dot all. Okay, so when we use this particular all, we will be receiving element array finder, which means like we will be finding element finders of array. Okay, now in this one we can perform operations on individual elements or on all the elements. For example, let me get all the elements. So currently we have like maybe like 4 or 5 elements. So if you want to perform anything on this particular thing, like we will be performing on the elements something like we'll be getting a text or we will be retrieving the attributes or css value, something like that. So uh, unlike Java or other languages, we can directly perform these particular operations on all the elements. For example, if I use get text, it will fetch all the texts present in the particular element, like the text present in the all the matches present in the page. For example, Gmail images, and here we have Hindi and then other languages, then Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam, and Hindi, I guess again. Then these advertise settings and privacy. These kind of links we will be getting it. So again, we will be receiving like array of values inside a promise. So we have to resolve the promise and fetch the value. Here I can say like text. Now let's try to print console.log texts. Okay, so I have coded, but just now I have opened a VS Code. So we have to make sure that we are running a command called tsc-w. Okay, it is for compilation of the existing code and also for watching for the future changes. tsc space -w. So let me open another console. So by this time the compilation will be over. So it's still compiling. Let it complete. Yeah, we were able to get it. So ignore about those errors because these errors are from different files. Okay, now we have our conf file present under JS files location here. Okay, this is our conf file. So we need to go to that particular file, JS files location, and then protractor conf file .js. Okay, now let's execute it. Okay, did not find any. Let's see why. Sorry, both the files are present under same location, so we need to have only test2.spec.js. Let's run now. So sometimes what happens is like your compilation may not work. During such cases, you need to visit this JS file and try to understand, or no need to understand, but make some small change and see like whether it is reflecting or not on the JS file. Okay. So we received all the links in green. Okay. So now we have received, but we have received in the form of array. And I hope you guys remember that in JavaScript and TypeScript, there is no such thing as array and a list. Both are same. Okay. So if you want to access any elements inside an array, then we can use indexes. Okay. Index is nothing but a square bracket. Inside that one, you have to start the index. Like you have to provide an index like which element you want to access. For example, if you have a number of elements, the first index always starts with a 0 and the last index always would be something like the total size minus 1. Okay, so here the 0 position is belongs to Gmail and first position belongs to image. First index belongs to images. So let's try to fetch first one. Okay, okay, it will wait for 5 seconds and then it will close. Okay, so we got images. Now we have images, it is fine. But if you want to access any other element, or if you want to access every single element in the array, okay, so this particular thing will return array. So if you want to access in every element, then we have to go for loops. So there are three loops. One is a for loop, and other one is a while loop, and I'm not sure like whether do while exists or not. And the last one is a for each loop. We'll see like what is for each in next sessions, but as of now we'll see like for loop. Okay, so we would be creating a variable. So all the variables in TypeScript are inferred by compiler. Okay, so the moment you put in if you are familiar with Java, means you will be using like a string, int, boolean, char, something like that. You will be giving the type. But in terms of TypeScript or JavaScript, you no need to provide any types for the variables. So by default it takes like, by default from the value it infers like what type it is. If you provide type as well, it will not complain. Okay, for example, I'm creating a variable called I. Okay, but I'm not giving any type, and I'm initializing value with 0. Okay, now I lesser than. So we are here talking about this total size, right? So we have to get the size. So instead of that, what we can do is we can only give. So we have to get the size actually. That's the true thing. But let's try. So the size is also present in our texts, right? Because this particular get text methods on a element dot all will return an array. Okay, so number of elements matches with this number of elements present in the array. For example, here we have Gmail as one element, and images as another element, and remaining links as other elements. So what happens is like from every element we are fetching the text using get text method. So this text will have all the text present in the elements. Okay, so every element has some, consider like first element has x and y, second element as y, and so on. So what happens is like when we use this get text, everything like x and then y, and these will not be merged. These two will be exist as a two different elements in the array. Okay, so based on our text we can get the size of the elements, basically in the size in the sense like number of elements present in that array. Okay, so the length is the variable, or you can also call it as a property. Okay, that we are going to use. Okay, based on array. Okay, so there is a thing you guys need to know, like what is a property or a variable or a method. Okay, you need to know the difference. I'll explain in a moment. Okay, so now then we have to increase it. Okay, let's put console.log text of 0. So what happens now?
It prints only the zeroth element.
Why so?
Because we are given text of 0. If we give I, then it will print it.
Okay, let me give I. So now it should be able to print every element present in this particular array. Okay, so it will print it. Now let's run it and see. Okay, let it run. But before that, I want to ask one question. One more question. So why we are using a lesser sign rather than a lesser than or equal?
Index will start from 0.
So when the index starts with the 0 means the size, the total last index would be always lesser than the size of that particular array. Okay, so size minus 1 becomes our last index. So we got our values here. Okay, there are spaces, which means like there was a empty text. Okay, so we are able to do it. Now what happens if I remove this I plus plus?
It will only print the 0th value.
Okay, let's see.
And it will be infinite loop.
Yes, exactly. So it becomes an infinite loop. So our system will fail actually. It will fail because JVM will be full. So it goes on. So at a particular point, it's going to fail because the memory will be full. So I'm going to halt it here. Okay. Now, let me add that I++. What happens now? Sorry, we have to have a condition. So answer like, so we have a condition, but I'm making it into equal sign. I equal to text dot length. So what happens now?
It will come out of the. It will not execute anything. It will not go inside the loop itself.
Right. But so this is the mistake normally we make. Okay. I have given I equal to text dot length.
Sorry, this is assignment. Yeah, it is not comparison.
Yeah. No, actually, this is one of the thing. Like normally, there was one of my friend he used to sit next to me. So once he made this particular mistake. So we were not able to find like this is the mistake because normally we will not see this particular condition. Even it is present in front of our eyes, it tricks like it is not an issue. Now what happens is like it goes for infinite loop. Let's run it. It's running. So it just keeps on going. Now let me halt it. So this will also create an infinite loop. But if I add one more equal sign, then it becomes a condition. Okay, relative. So now it will not enter into the loop itself because I is not equal to the text of length. Text of length would be like more than 10 or something. Okay, this is one thing. So when we create a loops, just we need to make sure the first thing, are we forming an infinite loop? Whenever there is a loop, we should have a fail statement. Like at a particular condition, the loop should fail. Okay, for that we will be giving a condition. And similarly, to fail this particular condition, to meet this particular condition, we need to have some increment or decrement in the for loop. That's why either we give I++ or I minus minus or I plus 2 or I minus 2 or I plus 5, something like that. There should be some increment to the loop variable I. Okay, it need not to be here. You can put it inside here as well, but there should be increment or decrement to this particular I. And similar way, there is one more condition. Okay, so if I put I minus minus, what happens? Okay, now if I put I minus minus, what happens is like it from the goes up to minus, like yes.
Yeah, again infinite loop.
Yes, because this particular condition is never going to meet. Okay, so these are the rules to avoid actually. Okay, so we have to make sure that we are not forming a loop like this one because it will cause an infinite loop. Okay, so that's with the for loop. Now similarly you can use all the other methods yesterday, whatever we have seen, like get location, get size, get css value, get attribute on the elements. Okay, but there will be some condition. Okay, something like you might need to get the element, but you cannot do that particular thing. For example, consider a list of elements. Okay, consider something like this. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now consider these are present in a web page. For example, for a moment's sake, you can consider this is present in a web page. Okay, now I want to delete every single element from this one, okay, based on the values. Okay, so I have about like 7 elements. Okay, if I give the same way, now I am getting something like this way. Get web elements. Okay, now I have used get web elements. Now can I find the elements? When we use get web elements, we will be getting all the, rather than text, we will be getting elements. Okay, now can I click or do something like if there is a button called delete, and can I use something like this?
And we have to use elements of 0 or element of 0 dot click.
Okay, yeah, we have to, right? So in the same thing, consider like I'm using this way.
Yeah.
So now will we get a exact result? Just think, we are having a buttons text which is called as delete. Okay, now we are trying to delete all the links present there. Okay, so these are the links. Now I want to delete 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what happens now?
When you click on anything, it will navigate somewhere else. So
consider like a normal thing, like the moment you click, it gets deleted.
okay.
Okay.
In that case, the index will change.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
will change.
So the index changes all the time. So first time, what you have is first element. Okay, a element at I. Now consider like this is gone. So which first you have deleted 0th element. Now which one is first element?
2.
Okay, so this is the first element, but which element is at the one position,
3.
one index?
3.
So we will be deleting this one, right? First we have deleted 0.
Yeah.
Now the 2 becomes a 0, but the increment we have incremented here. After deleting the 0th, we have incremented. So the I value is 1.
Yeah.
So now what happens is like we will be deleting the element which is at the index 1.
Yeah.
This one. Now we will be deleting an element which is at second index. So
5.
now the second index is 5. Again, if we try for the third, it will delete 7th. But still we have all the elements. Few of the elements are left.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there are such cases also. In such cases, what you have to do is the thing is going to be the same. Okay, so this is going to be the same, but instead of using the elements from this particular element array, we have to find each and every element. Okay, either again you have to find something like this, and so like you have an element of something like I dot, it doesn't work, but consider like, for example, I'm writing, it may or may not work. So we have to write something like this one. Okay, we are deleting a element at ith position. Okay, but this time we are every time finding the array and we are deleting a particular thing, or we can use this one as 0 and delete it, because every time a 0 is going to be changed. Okay, but you shouldn't be using this way. What you have to do is you have to find the element using an XPath or CSS. For example, let me use XPath. Okay, so now here we have to use our index. So when we use in our indexes in XPath, it becomes something like /a. Then in the brackets we will be having I, right? Yes. So here, but here we are deleting one by one. So in that case, what we have to do is we have to go with just click, because we have the same match. So you can use this one itself by tag name itself. So this is how you can delete when you have like variable things, like variable lists present in the web page. Guys, did you guys understand the situation, like how the scenario works?
Yes, no.
Yeah, this last statement, can you tell us? Element by dot tag name?
Yeah. So you understood the previous situations, right?
Yes.
How we are left with 2, 4, 6.
Yeah.
Now consider like we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now we have the same. Here we are trying to find the number of elements. Okay, that is why we use the get web elements here. So will we get elements length here? Something like 6.
Yeah.
Right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the first element, first match, and I'm going to click it. Something like delete this one.
Okay.
Now the loop goes again, and we do not use any variables in this particular click element. So again, what it does is like it tries to find the first element.
Okay.
Now the first element is 2. It deletes it. Then it so on, it deletes 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
Okay, but this is a rare scenario, but there are scenarios like this also, because when you are using this element dot all, just you need to be a little sure. Okay,
Yeah.
kind of this is kind of a edge scenario only. So just know it. There could be a case like this. Okay. So now we were saying like using a it block. Okay, we are navigating to Google, but in some cases, what happens is like every time or every scenario, every it block might needs to go into Google or refresh that particular page every time. So this particular step, if you write this particular browser dot get Google in every single step, like there are under test cases means under it blocks means you will be ending up with writing 100 lines, right? So for that purpose, there is a few more methods present in Jasmine, which are called as before and after. Okay, before each and okay, consider as of now we'll see like before each, and after this we'll see after each. So before each is something function. It is a function which will be executed for every it block. Consider like there are 100 it blocks means this particular before each block will be executed 100 times. Okay, for example, let's write browser.get inside the before each, and let's run it. So we should be able to see. For a moment's sake, I am just commenting this line. We should be able to say like, let me fetch text itself. Okay, let's run. So it opened Google, and now it will be printing the values. Okay, so you guys able to see that, right? It opened Google for the first time. Now let's write one more it block without any code, and we'll see like how many times it loads the page. Here let's click the first itself, like here what I'm trying to do is like I'll get the all the elements, and I'm trying to click the first element, like which is at the index 0. So which could be any link, and after that I have one more it block here. Okay, here we have added it block to see like whether this before each gets executed for every it block or not. Okay. So it opening Gmail again. For the second it block, it should go open Google. Okay. So this thing got failed, but you got the point, right? Like before each executes, before every it block, before executing every it block. So once and twice. Okay. So this particular before each is only valid inside this particular describe block. That also you need to understand.
Okay.
Okay. Now, similarly, for when we have like one thing to run before, and it's obvious that we will be having one more function which runs after every it block. So that is called as after each. Okay, most of the people will write all this before each, after each in the top, but it's up to you people. Like if you are following a particular standard or something, like there are two ways. Like every person will write like before each first, and after that itself they will write after each. Okay, for example, let's navigate to bing.com. Not Bing, Bing is a bit heavy. Let's go to duckduckgo.com. Okay, now let's run. So now we have two it blocks, and we have before each block as well and after each block. So what should happen is like first it should open google.com and it should execute all the code present in the it block. Okay, so once this particular it block is done, now what it should do is this particular after each will be invoked. So whatever is present inside this after each, that will be performed. Like here we are navigating to duckduckgo.com. Now we have one more it block. So for this time again it should invoke this particular before each block and it should get executed, and after the completion of the it block it should now open this after each. Okay, now let's execute. So it open Google. Now it goes to Gmail. It opens DuckDuckGo first after each. Now again to Google, again to DuckDuckGo. Okay, so it was executing like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Okay, total 6 steps it executed. So this is for the it blocks. So similarly, we have two more functions for each and every describe block. Okay, so now we have for before each and after each for it block. For describe block, we have before all and after all. Okay, so these are also similar to these two methods, before all and after all. So this will be executed only once per describe block. Okay, so the scope of these two blocks are also belongs to only for this particular describe block only. Okay, for example, let's open Tech, and after all we'll open bing.com. So now what should happen, guys?
First, Tech should open.
Okay, console first.
Then google.com.
Then google.com.
Then it will execute the first it block.
Third.
Then it will execute after each.
After each is fourth.
And then again it will execute before each.
Fifth.
And then the second it block.
Sixth.
And then after each.
Then after each. Seventh.
Then after all.
After all. Eighth.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's execute it and we'll see. So it opens Tech, Google, and the it block. First it block is performing, and now we have DuckDuckGo as third, and again Google 4, DuckDuckGo 5, Bing 6, and it should close. So was it executing according to our block? Yes, it was executing. So any doubt on this, guys?
No, it's same as before all is same as before suit, and after all is after suit.
No.
In TestNG.
If you are asking in terms of
TestNG. Yeah.
No. The before all is equal something like before class.
Before class. Okay.
Yeah. After all is something like after class. Okay.
This is like before method.
Yes. Before method is something like before each.
Before each.
Okay. And after each is after method. And it block is your at test.
At the test. Okay.
Okay. So we will discuss about this before suit and after suit. There are two other things. Okay. We will talk about when we are talking about the conf file. Okay. So we have these things. So whenever there is a unit testing framework, what is the most important thing is we have to have the assertions. Okay. So by default, Protractor doesn't provide any assertions. So we have to depend on Jasmine assertions. So it would be something like expect. Expect is a thing. Here it accepts something which is actual dot to be the expected value. So what we are expecting. Okay. So if we execute, it will fail because these two are different. Now there are similar to this expect dot to be. We have more methods. Sometimes what we do is we might not want this to be like we want to expect like we want to have an assertion something like this is not equal to this one. Okay, but as of now what we have written is like the actual value should be equal to the expected one. Okay, in some cases we want the actual value should not be equal to the expected one. In such case what we will do is expect actual to be. If we write, we will not be having any method to compare the not. So what we have to do is we have to call one more method, one more property called not. Not dot. Again, it will be like the same methods present, like to be, to be close to be defined, to be falsy. Okay, so to be. So the first method checks like whether both are same, and the second statement checks like both are not same. Okay, now let's run. Okay, there is something got failed, and which is like expected value is actual, but the value presented here is expecting. So because of which the test case got failed. Okay, because of this statement. So now we have a similar methods. Let's see what are the methods in that one. Okay, so to be close to is used along with integer values. So we will be checking like we will be using integers is nearby a value. Okay, to be defined, we'll be see like there is a thing called undefined. Okay, so something like if we have value a variable, something like let abc. Okay, so we have a variable called abc. By default, abc is having a value of undefined. Okay, by default value is undefined in TypeScript. So all the elements accepts, sorry, all the variables and data types accepts null also, but by default every value will be undefined. Okay, now let's run. So by the time we will see like other one. So again we have a to be falsy, which means like whether a particular given value is to false, and you guys know that what is greater than or equal to, or these can be performed only with integers. Something like 5 is greater than 6, or 5 is greater than or equal to 6, something like that. And nan, what is nan? Nan in the sense like sometimes what we do is we have this abc equal to something like 23.23. Okay, sometimes we would be parsing this particular string into an integer value. Okay, so in TypeScript, what how you can do it is you can use a method called parse int of abc. Okay, now this value will give like 23. Okay, but if you are using parse float, then it would give like 23.23. But what if I give 30? In this case, the result would be nan, which means like not a number. Okay, nan means not a number. So that time it will fail. For example, let me put this parse inside this one, and we'll see whether it gets passed or not. Sorry, in the expect statement we have to write it. And the previous result was undefined to be defined. Here we tried like abc. Previously it was undefined because we have not set any value, but we are checking like whether this particular variable has any value, but not, we are not checking a particular value, but any value could be fine, other rather than being left as undefined. Okay, to be nan is mostly used with this parse int or parse float. Okay, now let's write one more parse int of something like 12. So what should happen is like first one should pass and second one should fail. So the first one will be converted, like the QWERTY will be converted as NaN because it's not a number, and parse int of 12 will become 12 in the integer. Okay, let's run now. Okay, something failed. So we are expected 12 to be NaN. So the first one is passed. Okay. So any doubt, guys, on this one?
No.
Okay. So if we use except,
Do we have any documentation for this?
yeah, it is. We do have.
Okay.
Okay, it's in our site also. It's there, but if you want more details, means you should. There is a thing called Jasmine website only. That one is
Jasmine is a framework.
unit testing framework.
Unit is like TestNG.
Yes, in TestNG, do you see assert and soft assert?
Yes.
So expect statement is nothing but assert.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not you can say assert, but you can say it is equivalent to soft assert.
Soft assert. Yeah.
Yeah, soft assert in the sense even it fails, it will continue with the execution
Continue. Yeah.
without halting.
Yeah.
So in Jasmine itself, you can find Jasmine assets. If you search in Google, you can find it on the first document. Somewhere here, it should be there. You can find it. Documents, mostly, I feel like it should be there. Yeah, I'm not able to find, but you will be able to find it. Okay.
Okay.
So sometimes you might think like you may have some dynamic value or something like that. Now you have QWERTY, right? So you might need to make sure that sometimes you might previous itself, before running itself, you might need to make sure that whether it becomes a null or something or not. What would be the expected value? Okay, when you are using parse int or parse float. In such cases, what you can do is go to a browser, preferably to Chrome, inspect anything. Not necessarily you need to inspect something, just you need to go for console. Okay, sorry, you just clear it. Now write something like the same thing, parse of 12. It will give the result what it's going to be. For example, if I write 30, the value is NaN. Okay, so any guess what happens if I write like this one, QWERTY 1, 2, 3? By default it's showing the result there. It's NaN, but when we write 1, 2, 3 QWERTY, the result altogether changes. Okay, now let me write prefix the number before a string. Okay, now what happens is like when we convert this particular thing into a parse int or parse float, it will remove the suffix string if we have a prefix numbers, something like 1, 2, 3. See, we got 1, 2, 3, but the string got removed. But when we have a string in the front, it says like NaN.
Okay.
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 So this is one thing. And one more thing I want to discuss is like a reporting mechanism. Okay. So let me go to the code. Jasmine. Don't mind, I'm just copying because mostly we will not be editing anything much into that particular report. So we'll be copying only. Okay, inside this one, exports, we have to write okay. So this is our reporter. Actually, I had little time, like from sometime back, like 2 years back, I have started this reporting, and then because of some reasons, I have halted the reporting mechanism. And recently, when I started developing this website, then I thought like, let's create a report. Okay, so then I have created a report, this particular thing. So we can use different reports. There are HTML reports and Jasmine reports. This is also one of the Jasmine reports. It's entirely depends on the Jasmine. Just you need to copy paste, nothing more you have to do it. Okay, so after copy pasting, you might need to install, actually before copy pasting itself, you need to install this particular report. Okay, just something like npm install and then a report name. Okay, the module name actually. Okay, it will install its dependencies, and then we'll be able to start running it. So this one doesn't depend on Protractor, but only depends on our Jasmine. Okay, in the reporter, let me explain what is what. So we have few options. Okay, screenshot on fail, like whether we want to take a screenshot on a failure of a test case or failure of a it block. So if we set true, it will take a screenshots, and then we can provide the name for the reporting mechanism. And then there is a parameter called a show script. Okay, when you give a show script as a true, what happens is like it will consider all the skipped tests as well. So it got installed. So let me execute, and I'll explain from this show script and all the remaining parameters also. Sorry. The protractor. So the report is generated. And the reporter would be somewhere near this one. Rebel in Explorer. So it will be present inside your JSON files. So here you can see provide reporter name along with the timestamps. So this is how the reporter will look like. Okay. So the more and more display blocks if you add, it will become like a curve. Okay. So the first part is line chart. Okay. Let me add one more display block, and we will get to know it better. So because I am explaining it in a hurry means like it's not that much important part actually in protractor. The reporting mechanism is required, but not very extent. Like you will not be editing anything most of the time. Just you will be copy pasting the same code.
Okay.
So it is executing step by step. the latest one. Let me open it. So we got the lines here. Okay, it will change according to the pass and failure statuses. So this is a line chart. So here in the conf file, we have the options like whether to show the line chart or not. Like if we say false, this particular section will be hidden or it will not be created actually. And then we have a screenshot on failure. So if we set it to true, what happens is like we have already said, we can go into the reporting part and we can see like there is a link called image. Okay, when we click this image, it will open the screenshot of that particular failure. Okay, so if we don't give this particular screenshot on failure, the image link will not be created and the screenshot is also not captured. Okay, so this particular screenshot has the dependency of this particular browser. If you don't pass the browser, it will not take the screenshot. Okay, and similarly, we have one more parameter called a show script. So when you have like 100 test cases, and if you want to run only one test case, then you might don't want to show that 99 script, right? In a different describe logs. You want to show like one passed or one failed. That's what you want. So in that case, we can set this particular value to show script to false. Okay, that's all. And there will be a few more parameters, something like where the path you want to set, like which folder you want to create the particular reports. Okay, those will be present. You can verify or check them. So any doubt, guys?
No.
No problem.
Okay, so why we put a report in on prepare? Any guess?
No.
Okay, so there are certain methods. We will see it in a later part, but let me explain like just an overview. There is on prepare and on complete. Okay, there are two methods. So you were asking like what is this before suit and after suit, right?
Yeah.
So this is the one which is called before suit.
Okay.
Okay, it is something like what happens is let me open my paint. Okay, what happens is like first Jasmine will load Jasmine will check all the spec files. Okay, so after checking the spec files, what it does is it loads into a bucket. Okay, all the specs will come into this particular bucket. Okay, so once this bucket is filled, what it does is it will execute this particular on prepare method because it is ready to execute from this bucket. Okay, now it will start executing one by one. So at the end, you will be remained with 0 spec files in this particular bucket. I mean spec files, guys. Just you need to remember not the specs, but the spec files. Okay.
Okay.
So once everything is ended, there is one more method called onComplete. Okay, similar to this one. For example, okay, this particular method. So it will be executed at end of completing every single thing present in our Jasmine. Okay, once the bucket is over, then it will execute this particular onComplete block. So why we are creating the report on prepare is like before executing itself, we want to set like this is going to be your reporter and you have to do this particular thing. You have to use this particular reporter. Okay, for that purpose we will be using on prepare because of that purpose we will be writing this reporting mechanism or any other setting values will be doing on the on prepare. Okay, if you want to perform any cleanups, then you can put it on complete. Makes any sense? Little sense?
Yeah.
Let me write some code here, something like and then execute. We'll see this one more clearly on when we are talking about the conf file and the different settings. Okay. So as of now, let's execute this one. So what should happen is, like, before executing anything, we should need to have this
Oh.
into our console. Yeah, it came here. Now it executes. You might have a question, something like, browser got opened before writing this whoa. Do you guys have? Because we have the settings here, right? So because of which the browser will get opened. So after that only we have on prepare, right? So because of that, it will come later. So here you can see E at the end and O in the beginning.
When we have multiple spec files, then we give it all the names here.
Yeah, you can give, like, here you have, right, specs. Okay.
Yeah.
So just you need to put comma here, and then you can go on adding. Okay. But don't worry, we will discuss that particular topic in great detail, like specs and sorts.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
So this is just for a moment's sake I have showed, like, what is unprepared and incomplete.
Okay.
Okay, but you ignore about that part. But you guys understood this part, right? Before each, after each, this part. So this is all about Jasmine. Okay, not all about, but this is the most of it. And if there is anything, we will cover while talking about some other thing. Okay, if we are using them, we will talk about them.
Okay.
Okay. So any doubts on today's lesson?
No.
But I want you guys to practice about this before each, after each, before all, and after all. And I want you guys also try what happens if I put console.log outside of this before each or after each or each block. Okay, but inside the describe block. Okay, just try putting console.log and tell me, like, what happens.
Okay, bro.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So with that one, shall we end it?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks.
We'll see tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, tomorrow is Friday, so we will be meeting tomorrow, but we will not have a session on weekends.
Yeah. Sure.
You guys know, right? Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks.